I know you love your kids. That's why you put up with finding a toothbrush in the toilet or crayon markers all over the wall or baby powder scattered throughout the bathroom or milk spilt on the carpet. And it's where you learn the word sleep deprivation. And because you love your kid, I know the most important thing you want for your kid is that they would pursue God with their whole life and then help other kids pursue God with their life. And so today we're going to look at one of the most important verses in the entire scriptures on how to parent. And so we're going to look at Proverbs 22 verse 6 and listen to how it goes. Train a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not turn from it. Now, a lot of people think that this proverb is a promise. So I want to help you understand it a little bit better. So I'm going to share with you 4 insights from Proverbs 22:6. And here's the first insight, that a proverb is not a promise. You see, a proverb is a kind of pithy saying or catchy phrase with some wisdom or advice attached to it. Like a modern day proverb goes like this: an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Now, that's not true in every case. We know that if you ate an apple every single day, that's not going to guarantee a lifetime of health. But it's a general observation that if you eat well, you're probably going to end up being a more healthy person. Now, a promise, on the other hand, especially a promise from God, means a lot of times God will say, if you do this, I promise that I will do that. Well, that kind of promise from God, you can absolutely count on that promise coming true. You can take it to the bank. But here in Proverbs, this is not a promise from God. It's a proverb. It's a general saying that says this, that if you raise your child in the Lord, that most of the time your child will end up walking with the Lord. So that's the first insight. Now here's the second insight, that parents are dedicated trainers of their kids. See, that word train up has the idea of a dedicated trainer. And what that means is that parenting is going to take a lot of sweat equity. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of effort to raise a child up, spiritually speaking. You see, you're not just going to be able to coast as a parent, and you certainly can't just stick your head in the sand. As a matter of fact, parenting is really the hardest job there is, but it's also the best job there is. And really, what the scriptures are saying, it's kind of like this. Think about if you went to a health club and you got a trainer. Well, that trainer is to help you reach your potential or reach your goals. And here's what God's saying to parents. I want you to be all in with your kids. I want you to show up every day so that you can train your own children in the Lord. Here's the third insight, that parents are to lead their kids with God's design in mind. And so I'm going to read that verse again, but I'm going to read it from the Amplified Version. So Proverbs 22:6 in the Amplified Version says this: train up a child in the way he should go, and in keeping with his individual gift or bent, and when he was old, he will not depart from it. Now, in the way he should go has this idea of in his way or her way. It's this concept that God has created every child uniquely. And it actually comes from this old word of an archer. You see, every ancient archer would bend their bow in such a way that it would fit their size and their shape. In other words, a shorter archer, their bow would bend at a different angle than a taller archer or a larger archer. And so what that archer would do is he would shape his bow and bend his bow in a way that he could be successful. And here's what God is saying to parents, that as you are that like diligent spiritual trainer of your child, you need to take into mind the design that God has given your child, the temperament, the gifts, the abilities, the talents. And so when you start to raise your child, you need to do some things. And here's some things. You need to be an expert on your child. You need to study how they learn best. You need to study what motivates them and what demotivates them. You need to look at the God-given abilities they have. Like some kids, it's obvious that they're just naturally creative, that they love music, they love art. Well, shape your kid in that direction. Or other kids, they're just very academic, they love literature, they love engineering. Shape your kid that way. Or some of your kids are very athletic, and it really doesn't matter, but here's what does matter. No two kids are alike. If you have any ask any parent that has more than one child, they'll tell you no two kids are alike. So don't raise them alike. God is saying, take their abilities, take their unique temperament, and put that into the equation as you are raising them spiritually. And so here's the fourth insight. The fourth insight is to model what you want to see happen in your children's lives. You see, when you are shaping them and you are growing them in the Lord, you need to remember one thing. What you do is more important than what you say. And so if you want your kids to pursue God, then you need to model pursuing God. If you want your kids to worship God and make worship a priority in their lives, then you need to make worship a priority in your lives. If you want your kids to serve the Lord, then they need to see you serving the Lord, and then you can serve the Lord with them. And so let me give you these insights very quickly. I know you love your kids and you want them to grow in the Lord. And so Proverbs 22 says, first of all, remember, it's a proverb, not a promise. But it also says, in order for your kids to have the best chance of pursuing God with their whole lives, you need to be a dedicated trainer in their lives. And as you train them, you need to remember the kind of design that God has put in them. And then you need to model what you want to see happen in their lives.